Hello, hello, and welcome back. Welcome to another episode of Into the Nothing with your favorite host, Patrice. This episode is all about helping you access that abundance that you deserve in this lifetime. So, if you ever feel like you're constantly juggling bills, unexpected expenses, you're trying to save, but you're never quite getting there, you're never quite getting ahead. Or maybe you're struggling to ask for a raise at your job or setting boundaries around your time and your value, and it's leaving you feeling stuck in a cycle of scarcity. I have invited Randina on the podcast today. So, hello, Randina.
Hi, how are you?
Really good. Thank you so much for coming on because I know that you have a lot of wisdom to share when it comes to breaking through scarcity and limiting beliefs and turning our passion into profit. And so, my first question for you is how did you get to this point where you're so obsessed and you have a wealth of knowledge about this topic and helping people access this in their lives, this abundance? What's your story? How did you get to this point?
Well, I'm a life path seven. For those of us who are into numerology, you know that the life path seven is that insatiable desire to know the secrets of the universe and to learn spirituality. And my North Node in astrology is in my second house, which second house is money, wealth, abundance, value. And then my ninth house has all my planets. So if you look at it from astrology, I don't know if you've ever had your astrology done, but it will tell you so much about yourself to help you explain why you are the way you are. It even shows you what your limitations and your blocks are. So when I first learned my astrology, that's what changed my life. Before I was a hairstylist and I was working in the grind and I had a salon and I had stylists that were working for me. And, it was like every day behind the chair and slaving away and knowing that there's something more for you and you don't know what it is. So I started getting into the spiritual sciences, like the different modalities, the numerology, the astrology, the tarot cards, all the readings and connecting with angels. And I really just started to awaken my energy, my energetic gifts, because as women, we are natural healers, right? So, even especially with our children and our animals and our plants, it's like we're just always just giving this energy that is that feminine. And so we're oftentimes mostly in that giving, giving, giving energy. And we forget to allow ourselves to receive, which is why women will have abundance blocks. So I realized that I had to dive into my feminine energy, which there was a lot of wounding there because I had a lot of past trauma from sexual abuse and just all the things that women deal with, and ancestrally, because we are also ancestrally programmed. So diving deeper into my feminine energy and starting to have that self-value and that self-worth and really understanding myself and the laws of the universe, that's what brought me to where I am. So I started practicing everything that I was learning on my clients when I was doing hair, and they were just experiencing the most insane results in their lives. And so I was just knew that I needed to go from one to one to one to many. And when I was working with them, because I was working with their crown, their chakras, you get into the chakras, you start to learn. I was like all up in here. I wanted to learn how to help them more than just the talk therapy that happens between stylist and client. And so I started going to school for energy healing, Reiki. I went to school for neuro-linguistic programming so that I could take them through sessions to reprogram their brains and their minds and their energy and just have the all-encompassing. So I developed my own modality through that because my clients were getting such great results. And then when I had that desire, okay, I need to go from one to one to one to many, I started learning the online game and showing up online and overcoming my own insecurities and my own barriers. And so it's just been an evolution of that. But the desire to help other women to heal was really an internal desire for my own healing, right? Because what we see reflected in the world is things that we really want within ourselves. And so me being that and stepping up to the plate to help them do that was helping me in turn. So it was kind of just like, when you're speaking, it sounds like this magical fairy ride of just learning the energy of the universe, but it really has helped me to receive more and to be in that flow of abundance, because a lot of times we get into that achiever, like I'm Aries. So it's like, go, 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 like, gotta do it, gotta go, be this fire starter, start new projects, do this, do that. And like, you get to the point where you're so imbalanced in your masculine. Plus, we live in a patriarchal world, which has taught us that we need to be in our masculine, do in order to get. And it throws you off balance and keeps you always in that struggle and strife. And so I just really had a fascination of understanding how we work in relation to the universe so that I could have control over my reality. So that's why I was obsessive with learning.
And so, when you were a hairdresser and you started to learn about the laws of the universe and about the powers within, what is a story, or can you remember a woman in particular that you were working with when you were doing her hair, and then you started to give her some tips? Like, what were those tips to start to break free or to start to have a greater awareness of themselves to move through their blocks? Like, can you remember the things that you would say?
Yeah, because there was things that my clients would have in common, and it was really neat because I did hair for 20 something years. So it's like being able to see the clients that were coming to me, they'd all be dealing with this sort of problem. And sometimes it would be they'd want to manifest love. So all the clients that were coming to me would want to manifest love. And other times it would be they want to manifest more money. And so all the clients that were coming to me wanted to manifest more money. So it was really cool to kind of see the flow of the clients that were coming so that I could really learn. So I knew that the universe was setting me up perfectly to be able to learn this because there is no other profession in the world that I could have spent 8 to 9 hours with a woman understanding her internal and then learning and teaching what I learned and reprogramming her consciousness to help her. So the things that you can do, because there is a level of having our subconscious, we know 95% of our behavior is done at the subconscious level, right? It's 95% to 98% is subconscious. And then our conscious mind is 5%. So you can try to do something a million times over, but if you have a subconscious program that says, oh, that having success like that is not safe, right? Then you're going to have a block and you'll always be in that hamster wheel achieving. So it's both. It's like the external things that you can do and also the internal reprogramming too, because anytime you come up against a block and you can feel that intensity, you can feel that pain, it's a good sign because it means that you're about to move to the next level. If you weren't feeling it, you would just be complacent and be where you are. So when you feel that and in the intensity of it on a scale of 1 to 10, the more painful it is, the older it is. So if it's like a level 10, it usually is always something that happened in early childhood. So when you go back to those types of things, like say, for example, someone wants to have a harmonious relationship, but their parents had terrible relationships, they had a terrible relationship with their parents, then they would just continue to duplicate that over and over because that's their pattern. That's what their subconscious mind says. This is how we do relationships because our brains are designed to keep us alive, not necessarily to help us to reach the highest of heights. And so when we're from 0 to 7 and when we're with our parents and we're in our relationship dynamic with our parents, that's the map of the world. And it goes for money, it goes for self-esteem, it goes for everything because we inherit a lot of our beliefs from our mother because we're in her womb. From the first 0 to 6 months, we believe we're one with her. So her identity becomes our identity. So if she didn't have a really good self-esteem or a really good solid sense of self-worth, it's going to be really hard for us to have that because we wouldn't even know what it felt like, which would block us from receiving the things that we want to receive in life. So what we would do is going into the subconscious mind to find that root because you can always feel what you're feeling right in this moment and say, okay, subconscious mind, show me the root of this. If you're in like a state of relaxation, and your subconscious mind will show you immediately where that comes from. And then when you can go into that as your adult self, and if you believe in angels, bringing the angels with you, that loving energy and love that part of you, it heals. It causes a miraculous healing to occur within your subconscious mind. And then that limitation is no longer there. So then that opens up new opportunities, it opens up new pathways. The universe then is responding to your new vibration. So it was really helping them to understand that the deeper the pain, the more internal they had to go. And then the external things like raising your vibration, eating healthier, right? Eating raw fruits and vegetables, organic fruits and vegetables naturally raises your vibration, raises your cells. We have trillions of cells that are all communicating with each other. And when we're stressed out, they are stacking on top of each other in a stressed out state, not doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is how disease sets in. And yet when we're relaxed, our DNA is relaxed, our cells are relaxed. And when you eat plants, it gives you a boost of energy. It gives you that boost that you need that causes you to relax. So it's multifaceted. It's the internal work in addition to meditation is a huge thing, right? Like you have to sit in silence, especially right when you wake up in the morning. So your thoughts are not carrying you into the same thoughts that you were thinking yesterday, because 90% of the thoughts you were thinking yesterday, you're thinking again today, which is why people keep experiencing the same thing day in and day out. So it's kind of just becoming cognizant and aware of where your thoughts are and where they're taking you and where they're guiding you so that you can have more control. And the only way to do that is by becoming the observer. The only way you can do that is by being in meditation and just observing. It's not trying to stop your thoughts. It's just like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. Because we oftentimes self-identify with our thoughts when they're 90% of them aren't even ours. Our brains are receivers. So we're receiving streams of thoughts. So that's why you'll have the same thought that someone else has. Or, oh, you're thinking about that person and then they're also thinking about you. So you can really kind of tailor what you allow yourself to receive. So it would be the external actions. Exercise is a huge one, especially when you're doing a lot of energy healing, because when you're doing energy healing, you got to get your body moving so that cellular turnover rate happens really fast so you can form a new identity. It's pretending, right? It's playing, it's acting as if it's going to the playground and swinging on the swings, like being with your inner child self, that energy, that burst of energy. It's when you're doing the dishes in the house that you live in, you want to live in a new house, you're closing your eyes and pretending you're doing your dishes in a new house. So it's like all these different things that you do externally as well as internally that then creates the new result. So that's the long answer to your question.
So thorough though. Oh my gosh. And so much what I've learned over the years you brought together in such a succinct way. So that was epic. And so if someone's listening right now and they are in that place where they are constantly juggling bills and they have unexpected expenses coming in, they're trying to save, but they can never quite get ahead. Where would you start? Like, what sort of awareness or practice or conversation would you start with to start to unpack that and resolve that?
The first thing that I would recommend is getting outside, going and getting into the earth, earthing. Like if you haven't watched that movie Earthing, it's on YouTube. It's free. It's fucking phenomenal. It's like the science behind what it does. It's so, so powerful. And a lot of times we need that scientific proof before we'll actually do something that works, right? I know I do. That's why everything that I learned, I had to learn the science behind it. I couldn't just take it for word because I needed to know that it was true. So I would say definitely that getting out into the earth, planting your feet, your bare feet in the ground, and really connecting with the earth and the abundance of the earth, because that's going to get you out of your old habitual thinking. Because you can't try to solve an old problem from the same level of mind that created it. And a lot of times when we are struggling with bills or when we do have unexpected financial things that come up, we'll blame ourselves and we'll go into that self-defeating energy, like we're failures or there's so much shame and there's so much guilt in it. And the only way to change it is to get yourself out of that and to go into a place where there is abundance so that you can tap into the abundance. Because when you're feeling that abundance of nature in that energy and then you're uplifted, then you can send that energy to your bills and say, thank you for the magnificent outcome and see your bills being paid. It's like getting out ahead of it, really. I don't know if you listen to Abraham Hicks, but if not, I 1,000,000% recommend it because they literally tell you every single thing to do, right? Meditation, segment intending, tuning into abundance. That is how you'll start to manifest more. And then you'll get unexpected windfalls. And of course, doing things like money, Reiki Theta, you can do programming, you can do energy healing for money Reiki. So it is changing your belief systems around your money and realizing, where am I doing the same thing that my parents did? Because it's a learned behavior. So you have to get yourself out of the environment if you want to change it.
And it's so beautiful because the earth is so accessible. We all have at least a patch of grass that we can go to no matter where we live, that we can spend some time. But it's doing it, isn't it? Because we can hear these actions, these techniques to go and put your feet on the earth and spend some time and go into your imagination and use your thoughts and your feelings to feel as though you're in a totally different scenario. And we could hear these things, but the gap is doing them. It's like, 'cause sometimes we just like hear it, oh no, but I'm too busy. But we've just got to make time for it. Is that right?
Yeah, and I feel like for high achievers, when you challenge yourself, right? When you look yourself in the mirror and say, I challenge you to take at least 10 minutes a day and go outside and tap into the abundance. And then write it on your calendar, right? Like 30 days, I challenge you to do it every single day. You 9 times out of 10 will make sure that you do it.
That's such a good way of looking at it because it's like when I've got so much to do and I'm so capable, how can I make it another one of these goals? Like the way that I operate, how can I insert this into my life in a way that aligns with how I naturally operate, but doing a different habit, which is pausing, which is taking care of ourselves, like you were saying, eating properly, exercising. These things make everything else so effortless, so much easier and more effortless, but it's carving out the time to do them and so we don't reach burnout and then decide to do it.
Yeah, and sometimes we have to reach burnout first until we're like, okay, this isn't working. I need to go back to the basics. Because in reality, we all know everything is energy. Everything. It doesn't matter how many strategies you try or how many different things you do. If you do not have the mental and emotional belief system that that's going to work, it's not going to work. It just won't. If you do not believe in yourself, it's not going to work. Every successful high achiever knows it's 95% mindset. That is the energetics come first and then comes the action. So, we can spin ourselves in circles until the day that we die. It's literally why 8 out of 10 people scientifically die with regret because we're trying to change the external. You can't change the external. You have to change the internal so the external reflection changes.
If someone is struggling to ask for a raise at work, what would you recommend? I like my job, I like where I am, but I want more money. I deserve more money, but I feel stuck. I don't know how to do it. I feel scared. What would you recommend?
Well, to say I deserve more money is when you say I deserve more money, it's like you deserve more money, but if you believed you deserve more money, you get more money because you just walk in there and say, "Look, this is what I'm worth and this is what I'm asking. Take it or leave it. I'll get another offer." Right? And usually people will get another offer and then have that as leverage. So the way to take a stand there is to know your value and your worth. And a lot of times we're so out of touch with our value and our worth because we are just living ourselves. We don't realize how much value we actually add to other people's lives. I have my clients do this all the time. It's one of the number one practices that we do is each night for 14 nights, they write out their value. What value did I provide today? Why am I valuable? What do I provide my job? So if you want to raise at your job, you have to write down, you have to become conscious of your value, your inherent value. Because when you're conscious of that and then you reread that, especially before you go in to ask a raise, you're going to be vibrating that. You're going to have that. You're going to know that. That's going to be what energy you're emitting. And 95% of our communication is done at the subconscious level. So if you're vibrating that and then you go in, you're going to have the confidence to ask for a raise, number one. Number two, they're going to feel that and know your value. And you're going to 9 times out of 10, you're going to get it.
And so, what about setting boundaries around time and value? You're in a job or maybe working for yourself and you are working overtime and you're feeling exhausted. What would you recommend firstly for someone who's in a job who's working more than they feel like they need to and they're feeling exhausted by it?
I would ask myself, why am I self-sacrificing? Why am I sacrificing myself? Why am I saying that this thing that I'm doing is more important than myself? Because 9 times out of 10, it's driven by fear. It's a fear-based drive. It's a survival drive. It's a money drive. It's a, whatever that, I'm not good enough. I need to be accepted drive. So you have to go to the core to have that deep introspection to see what is the reason that I'm doing this? Because there's a deep-seated belief there that you aren't valuable or that you're not going to be supported. So you have to go to the internal world first because like I said, you can try to change everything externally and it'll change for the minute, but another fire is going to light over here and another fire is going to light over here. So you have to go internal. It's internal first and then the external and the self-worth and self-belief is number one. Your identity, who you believe yourself to be, who you've been conditioned to believe yourself to be, because most of it is not even who you are, it's who you've been conditioned to be. So when you can get back in touch with who you really are, everything else increases. You know your worth, you know your value, you just emanate it, and there's not a need for boundaries because you're just emanating that, and no one's going to cross that because they can feel it. It's kind of like when my daughter was young, she, going to school, there was like the bullying, all these things. And so I was like, you know what, I need to give her some sort of skill. So I enrolled her in martial arts, and she started jujitsu, and she got really good at jujitsu. The bullying stopped because she walked around like she could defend herself. No one is going to, she had that strength and confidence. There was no weakness there. So no one is going to overstep boundaries when you have that fire, that confidence. This is not a negotiable, right? Like, this is how we're moving forward, and this is how I deserve to be treated. And also knowing that people treat you the way you treat yourself inside. There are mirrors to how you're treating yourself and how you're talking to yourself. So being mindful of the way that you're talking to yourself, and the chatter that goes on about, your value and your worth is really the way to start. And like I said, 90% of the time it's not yours. So you can always ask yourself, when you find yourself in a negative loop, number one thing, is this mine? Very first answer, because your subconscious mind will answer you. And 9 times out of 10, it's not. It's not yours. It's someone else's. It's a tape, a thought loop that your mom was playing, or someone that is in your environment that you're picking up on, or even an ex that has been thinking, and now it's sent to you. So you just always want to ask yourself, is this mine? And you'll get an answer right away. And if it's not, you just send it back, and then it goes away.
The awareness that you're talking about and knowing yourself and knowing your thoughts, for I would say a lot of people, they don't know where to start. Is it coming back to meditation to start to become aware of yourself? Like, what's that first step? Because there's one thing to notice in my life. Okay, I keep on having really shitty bosses, or I keep on having partners that I can't stand and that don't take care of me. And then there's a certain point of going, okay, this is a pattern. It keeps happening. Maybe I'm the common denominator. And so there's that
Yeah.
level, but then there's like, oh, it feels scary to start to be aware of myself. Like, what would you recommend with that? Is it meditation and knowing that it's uncomfortable, this process? Like, what do you say to that?
Yeah, it definitely is. Meditation's number one, because you want to get silence so that you can become the observer. And at first, your thoughts are going to be crazy. You're not going to be able to keep them quiet. When I first started meditating, the reason that I started meditating was because I went to see an Akashic Records reader, because my acupuncturist was like, you have to see this woman. She's literally phenomenal. She'll tell you everything. And so I was like, okay, like, I have nothing to lose. I'll just go see her. Well, she told me, she was like, nothing in your life is going to change until you meditate for 30 days in silence. And I was like, I remember leaving there laughing, like, okay, because I was just like so business driven. I'm like, meditating, yeah, okay. So I did try to sit down and meditate, and I could not do it for the life of me. So I started researching brainwave entrainment, because I was like, okay, I know that there's monks out there that have been meditating for like 30 years. How do they do it? So I started researching, and I found this brainwave entrainment that does it for you. It's just like an audio that you listen to, that you have to listen to. It's like a 6-month track, and you listen to one track for every 7 to 10 days, and then you skip a track. So it's like training your brain hemispheres to be in congruence and in harmony with each other, because most of the time, especially higher achievers, our brain waves are like all over the place. Like, it's just like like thousands of thoughts. And you just, you just go, 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 especially if you're, like caffeine, like that just makes it even crazier. So in order to start to feel that peace and not be afraid, because fear is a stress response, right? It's fight or flight. So anytime you feel afraid, it's a stress response, because you're misunderstanding or misconstruing the inputs that are coming in. So when you can get your brain to be relaxed and at peace, it's so much easier. You don't have to control your thoughts or even look at them. A lot of the old patterns will just fall away, because now you're in a new energetic state. So when I started listening to that, it just completely changed everything. It changed my whole life. It helped me to understand my brain patterns and brain waves. And then you can be open to receiving divine guidance and intuition, because when your brain is crazy all over the place, you're not open to that kind of stuff. So you'll start to receive more insight. And you'll start to say, to here, do this, go this way, go that way, and like you'll have the intuitive that makes you more successful, that will open up more abundance because you have your higher self that is there, that is guiding you. It's just most of us are just so caught by the noise of the world that we aren't listening anymore. So brainwave entrainment is literally the way to get your brain to be quiet so that you can actually have that sense of peace.
When it comes to a woman who is predominantly who listens to this podcast and who I am too, is a woman who's capable, who wants a lot in her life. She wants the relationships, she wants the career, she wants the passion, she wants the purpose, she wants the impact, she wants the money, the abundance, the relationships, she wants it all. And it's this woman that's a high achiever. She knows that she's clever, she knows that she's got the package. What would you say is one of the most powerful aspects of a woman like that? And what would you say is one of the aspects to watch and to nurture, like the balcony in the basement of being a woman who is super capable and a high achiever?
Well, first of all, I would definitely look around in the world and see high achievers because high achiever is just a label, right? It's like an independent individual expression. So, do you want to be a high achiever that is in harmony and balance and flow? Like, is that version of you a goddess? Is she gorgeous? Is she in flow? Is she in love? Is she just nurturing? Is she caring? Is she adored? Is she adoring herself? Or is that high achiever crazy, stress-cased, anxiety attacks, riddled with fear? Even though there's lots of women that look like that are like that make a lot of money, but they're sacrificing everything. Or do you want to be this version? So first of all, you have to understand and really get clear, which version do I want to be? What is this version of me that has this? And making that connection with that version of you that has all the things that you want to experience, and then reverse engineering it. It's the quickest way to being able to actually embody that. Literally going to her, that version of you. What did you do to get to where you are from where I currently am? She's going to tell you, she's going to give you the answer. And then you just start to do those things that she's doing then and embodying her as much as you can because you already are her. It's an evolutionary phase. So if you can just tap into that version of you that already is that, and then start to walk through the world like that, you'll collapse timelines and it'll happen so fast. And it's down to the little minute things like, would she eat this meal that's in front of me? Would this version of me, who I am wanting to be, who I'm on my path to be eating what I have in front of me right now? Little things like that. Would this version of me be in this relationship that I'm in right now? Right? Would this version of me live in the house that I'm living in right now? And a lot of times we have to make shifts in what we're doing. It's like going from autopilot living, which is going to lead you to some certain kind of fate, or you can be a deliberate creator and say, this is the version of me that I want to be. Let me step into her now and embody it. And even if you can't do it during the day, do it at night when you're in the shower. Just close your eyes and feel what it would feel like to be her. When we're in the shower, it's like, it's our zen, especially the high achievers, the women. It's like our zen space. So you could just be in the shower and be like, okay, what does she feel like? Let me just feel her. Because the more you feel her, the more you embody her, the faster everything around you is gonna change. And then you don't have to make things change. Things just start changing.
What's one of the most mind-blowing things or amounts of money or something exciting that you manifested, like that you did some internal work and then it appeared and you were like, that's fucking cool. Okay, this stuff is real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So many things. So first it starts with the parking spaces, right? It's like, oh shit, I got a front row. Like, oh, I've been in the front row. Oh, there's that butterfly I asked to show me a sign. Like first it starts like that. And then it starts to get to the point where I actually learned this doing hair. This is one of the key things that I learned, and it's something that's going to help everybody because people think that you have to sit down to visualize the future that you want to be in and like embody it and sit there for 30 minutes. And that does work to some level. And yet the little short blips work so much better. So what I started doing, because in the salon industry, it's highly competitive, but I never looked at it like that because I was obsessed with learning and being the best that I could be at everything, the high achiever thing. And so what I would do with my clients, because they would come to me, I did high high ticket sales. So it was color correction and hair extensions and Japanese straightening and these kind of things that took 5 to 9 hours, which is why I said there was no other thing in the world that could have allotted me that time. Not even a therapist has that amount of time with one, right? And so being able to be in that position, what I would do is they'd come to me and sometimes they would come with the most crazy hair. And I would be like, how am I going to fix this? Like, I have no idea. I'm not trained for this. So I was learning the power of visualization at this point in time. I just remember this one moment. It was just the craziest thing. I didn't know how I was going to pull it off because usually what she came in with was like something that would have taken 5 appointment sessions, but I knew I did not want to take 5 appointment sessions to work on this. So I just was like, okay, I'm just going to try this visualization thing. So I closed my eyes and I saw her leaving with perfect hair and hugging me and crying. And so I just like for 5 seconds. And then I went to go mix up her formula and I started to do it the way I was trained with the exact measurements. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. So I dumped it out. And then I just started using just whatever I was guided to put in. I'm like, you're kind of like crossing your fingers. I'm like, shit, I hope this works. It's like, I don't know why I'm got to do this. But then after I did it, I didn't think about the vision anymore because I was in it, right? I was doing it. But literally when she left, that she did exactly what I short visioned her doing. And I was like, no fucking way. So I kept doing it over and over and over again. And it worked so well. I became the best in my industry at what I was doing. And that's what I was doing. So then I started applying that to my online business. I would see women coming to me saying, you're exactly what I was looking for. I knew I needed to work with you. I'm so glad that I did this. My whole life has changed, my kids' life, da, da, da. And I would see them. So anytime I have someone come work with me and they're in a coaching package, I will always do a meditation, close my eyes, see them at the end of it, doing exactly that, and then putting it to the side. Well, every single time that happens. And when I don't do it, it's a different result. So it's like crazy that I started learning that. I can say the one that I used just this recently, we have a tendency to look at what's not working or look at where we don't have instead of really focusing on what is working and what we do have and the glory of that, especially if you have like unexpected bills or bills you haven't paid or like all these things, it can just kind of convolute everything. So getting really good at setting that to the side and then just being in the mode of, oh, look at what I do have. Look at what I did experience. Even if it's just something like, oh, she paid for my dinner. I didn't even have to ask her. Like, this is so amazing. And you just start getting these things that happen everywhere you go. Like even last night, I went to this one pot pie place and the girl, they forgot our one of our orders. So I had to go back up and get it. And she's like, I feel really, and they didn't charge me for it. So I was like, I don't think that this even went through. And I was going to pay again. She's like, no, I'm just going to give it to you because, I didn't want you to have to wait. And I was like, thank you. And it was just like every day. And then my daughter ended up paying for dinner. And I'm like, I didn't even ask her to do that. I'm like, that's so amazing. It's just like little things like that. When you focus on the things that are working, that are moving, even if you get like a 3% raise, it's like, oh, let me focus on that. So what ended up happening with this last experience is I'm in the middle of launching a new course, the Purpose to Profits course, and so I have an X amount of space in it. And I don't know if you ever experienced this, but when you're like you have to have these certain amount of spots filled because it's a certification course, so they're all working together, right? It has to be an even number, and so you can kind of start to get stressed out about that. And it was like, no, I just need to close my eyes and tap in. Okay, the perfect women. And I just saw myself like closing contracts, closing deals, seeing the proposals being signed. And that is literally what happened. So in a matter of 3 weeks, it was like $180,000 in contracts just closed just from doing that and not focusing on things that weren't working or things I still needed to do. So it's just becoming a mastermind, really.
It's so funny. As you're saying that, a girlfriend of mine just asked me what my account details are. I've been looking after her daughter just because I love it. She literally just said to me, "What's your account details?" She's about to send me money. But I love that story so much, Randina,
Yeah.
because what it also shows to me and what I've learned in my own process of clearing my mind and being more centered and being more intentional is that I can't be thinking all of the thoughts of worry and of lack and then just have like 10 minutes in the morning of having some abundant thoughts or trying. It really is being intentional throughout the day, or for me, being really clear and then as much as I can tipping the scale, having that tipping point of having more abundant thoughts of there is more than enough. Of course, it's going to work out. And noticing in these little moments of when I think a thought that's worry or scarcity or it's not going to happen or I suck. And in that moment, pausing and
Yeah.
thinking another thought intentionally. And that takes that, this stuff can seem woo-woo and silly, but it's very intentional, it's deliberate, and it's very conscious and it takes effort, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's scientifically proven. So all the woo-woo is being scientifically proven at this point. Yeah, it does take effort to switch your thoughts because your thoughts are in the brain pattern. It's kind of like water rushing down a mountain. There's a groove. It's already going to do it. So when you start to create a new brain pattern, a new thought, it takes a little bit for it to be the groove. So you're gonna have to do that back and forth with your thoughts for a while. And also, it's like one of the things that I know, especially in our industry and being women, is we are taught from a very young age to compete with each other. And so it's easy to look at other people, and I'm sure guys do the same thing, right? It's easy to look at other people and be like, oh my God, she has it all together. She has all the money. She has the man. She has the whole life, da, 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 da. It doesn't mean that those type of people do not face challenges. They just do not let them consume them. And every single person has had a starting point, and we don't know their starting point. And so I think one of the most profound things that has helped me is knowing that the level of contrast that you experience have to match the peaks. So it's like the more intense things get, it's like the arrow that's pulling back. It's like the peaks have to match the valleys. And so it makes me feel like, oh, well, okay, then I'm happy about all this because I know that on the other side of it, it's going to catapult me into something far greater than I've ever experienced. And that has been true in my life. So if you're feeling like you're down, just know that the peaks have to match the valleys and you're going to catapult back up the minute that you release resistance.
Gosh, thank you so much, Randina. This has been so packed. I have loved every minute of this. You are a firecracker with so much wisdom. And the best place for people to find you is on Facebook or Instagram. Where can I send people to check you out?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Randina Marie. Also, my website, randina.co. I'm on TikTok also.
Cool. Well, I'll drop all the links down below, of course, but the biggest thank you to you for coming on Into the Nothing, Randina. I'm so glad that I watched your content and I was like, I have to get you on the podcast to talk about abundance and mindset and the magic of our internal world, and you have over delivered. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun. I love talking to you. Your energy is just contagious.
Thank you. And of course, thank you to you for listening. And of course, please subscribe. Please share this with your friend, a colleague, a family member that you know would get so much out of this episode. Would really appreciate that. And of course, give it a rating. And just appreciate you for being here. And of course, we'll see you on our next episode. See you guys.